Welcome to Module 3 of the training course on co-creative practices. In the two earlier modules, we focused on planning and structuring, as well as synthesizing outputs and evaluating workshops. In this session, we'll explore how co-creative principles were put into practice in the HumAIne project, what we can learn from its AI development journey, and what activities were conducted to facilitate a human-centered design process. The learning goal of this module primarily focuses on linking the theory with practice by understanding how co-creative principles were applied in the HumAIne project. Let's start with a quick overview of the project and its co-creation phases. The HumAIne project ran for 36 months, and co-creation was embedded right from month 3 through to month 24, closely aligned with the AI development. This made it possible to capture and address a wide range of stakeholders' perspectives applicable across the definition and design stage of the system. The work was split into 3 phases and corresponding co-creation goals. Phase 1 focused on definition and design of the technologies, thereby creating user stories and mapping processes. Phase 2 tackled early development and testing, refining outputs, mapping risks and KPIs. And Phase 3 centered on final development and external validation. In this module, we'll focus on Phases 1 and 2. So, let's dive into Phase 1 and see how the first workshops were prepared and run. The first workshop began with careful preparation. Project materials and process workflows were reviewed internally, then shared with pilot representatives for feedback. Pilot leaders prepared presentations about the pilot's context, stakeholders, challenges, and goals to prepare participants further for the workshop, but also to collect additional input. A seeding survey was conducted, asking about AI's role in the use case and which elements should be part of the evaluation, such as work characteristics, trust, and human factors. This ensured everyone shared a baseline understanding before the session. Let's see what happened during the workshop itself and what outputs were created. To kick off the first workshop, pilot leaders presented information about the pilot's context, the people involved, the challenges and objectives, all with a goal to ensure a shared understanding to enable active participation. During the in-person session, participants then identified key users of the technology and their objectives using simple post-it notes. They mapped initial user stories, explored relevant technology components, and began to sketch out human-AI interaction types. They also defined initial evaluation ideas, using flipcharts and color-coded sticky notes to structure their inputs. The result was a shared foundation of user stories and success criteria to guide development. But co-creation didn't stop there. The process moved online in Workshop 2. 2 weeks later, the outcomes from Workshop 1 were digitized into a Miro board for everyone to check, to update, and to extend earlier output. The board was pre-structured to make it easy to navigate, and a user manual was shared so everyone could contribute. Over the following weeks, using the Miro boards and on their own time, participants refined and extended the results from Workshop 1. They identified different decision types, those made by humans by AI, or where responsibility was still unclear. They also mapped out who the decision makers should be, distinguishing between human, AI, and hybrid roles. This allowed the team to build a richer and more nuanced understanding of how decision-making would unfold in practice. With these asynchronous contributions in place, the project moved into a live discussion during Workshop 3. During this Workshop 3, which was a virtual synchronous session, participants came together in real time to review prior outcomes. They extended the Miro boards, refined decision types, and linked them back to the user stories. This ensured that decisions and stories were fully aligned, building consistency across the project. So how were these Phase 1 outcomes finalized and reported? The user stories were consolidated and validated across different workshop formats. A formal report was then produced, documenting the methodology and findings. A draft was shared with participants within 2 weeks for feedback, and the final version followed after revisions. This process helped ensure accuracy, transparency, and stakeholder buy-in. With Phase 1 complete, the project moved into Phase 2, early development and testing. The shift to co-creation in Phase 2 started with a gap analysis of the Phase 1 outputs. A participant survey was also conducted to evaluate the first phase and identify ways to improve the co-creation process. This feedback loop strengthened engagement and set the stage for the next step. Let's look more closely at the highlights of Phase 2. In Phase 2, user stories were revised based on technical discussions to ensure they remained relevant. The pilot scope was adjusted where some planned components proved unfeasible. The focus then shifted to mapping KPIs, identifying risks, technical, operational, and social, and discussing how technology integration could best support developers. This phase emphasized making the outputs actionable for system development. So, what can we take away from these first two phases of co-creation? The HumAIne project shows how co-creation can be applied across different stages of AI development. Phase 1 emphasized definition and design, building user stories, mapping processes, and defining evaluation ideas. Phase 2 focused on early development and testing, refining outputs, mapping KPIs, and identifying risks. By combining in-person, asynchronous, and synchronous workshops, the project ensured inclusive participation, and through documentation, iteration, and feedback, outcomes were continuously refined and kept relevant. In short, co-creation made the AI development process more human-centric, collaborative, and effective. This concludes the training course on co-creative practices. Throughout the course, we have focused on how to plan and structure co-creation phases and sessions, how to report outcomes effectively, and how to evaluate and improve workshops. We also provided a practical illustration based on the HumAIne project. If you have any questions after completing this training, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much for your participation, and we wish you success in applying these practices.